the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I apologize for missing yesterday, but I need to start taking care of myself. So I decided to take a day off, and I might do that a couple times over the next few days and see if I might be able to get rid of some of these symptoms. But what I wanted to talk about today is a correlation that I have found between my, I guess, adjusting to the loss of my, I guess, vision challenges or whatever. Adjusting to the disability, maybe that's the word I should say, adjusting to my disability and the similarity between that and adjusting to sobriety. I, in the beginning of my sobriety, I felt sorry for myself. During this adjustment period of dealing with being disabled, I have felt sorry for myself. Dealing with this period, this adjustment period, I have also felt stuck in the middle of like not having vision the way that I used to, and yet being functioning in a moving world that is not going to change. Just like in sobriety, feeling like I'm stuck in the middle of wanting to be social and going out and doing things with my friends, but being able to function normally in a world that drinks. And that's the reality for someone who makes a decision to get sober, that their life is unmanageable if alcohol is a part of it. And it's fascinating how much of the world is focused on drinking when you try to give it up. So acceptance is not easy, and there is a complicated grieving process involved in both of these experiences for me. Looking at, in both cases, in both sobriety and in stroke and vestibular recovery, I have a tendency, I think that's normal, to look back at who I was before I had to change. And when you're faced with looking back at who you were and not feeling like having a choice to change, I did not have a choice to become sober, because that's the way I look at it, because either I was going to become sober or I was going to die. So yeah, I chose to live. But during that period of my life when I was drinking, it didn't feel like I had a choice. It felt like I was really just being pushed into this crossroads where either I was going to live or I was going to die. And gratefully I chose to live. I had a dream last night of my brother-in-law. He's from my previous marriage, and he had passed away several years ago. He also suffered from alcoholism, and eventually died from suicide. And I had a dream about him last night. Um, when I have a dream about people, this might seem weird to whoever, but I don't care because I just come here and I'm honest. When I have a dream about somebody who has passed, I feel like it's for me, my version of them visiting me. And so I dreamed about him, and it was in the dream he was the same person, which doesn't happen a lot with a lot of people. Well, I guess they are, but he was disturbed in my dream still. A lot of times I dream of people who have passed and they are either smiling and they don't say anything, or it's usually just a positive, fulfilling feeling of them visiting me. And that's why I've always connected it to that. But it seems like when I dream about him, he's never happy. Like he's never gives me that like fulfilling feeling. As a matter of fact, in the dream, I so there's a lot of times that I dream of like I'm looking for alcohol, and I'm not necessarily going to drink it, but I'm looking for it. And in this dream, I was looking again, and I found this is weird. I found a packet of powdered beer, and you just add water. And I found this, and I was like, huh, well, this is a loophole. Anyway, he was there. My brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, I don't know how you say that, for my previous marriage. He X makes it seem like I'm saying X because he passed away, but I'm saying X because he's from my previous marriage. Okay, just to be clear. Okay, so he came to visit, and he was packing up a backpack to leave from, we were at my son's birthday party. That's what it was. I mean, my son was like in his 20s, but I was having a birthday party for him, and all of his friends were coming and stuff. And so his uncle, my ex brother-in-law, was there, and he was getting ready to leave, and he was packing up this backpack, and he was collecting all of the leftover liquor and alcohol in the house. He was going to take it with him. Um, and so he held out his backpack for me to put the powdered beer in there. And so I put it in there. And I don't know. It was interesting. Um, so what was my point? Why did I start talking about that? Um, I don't know. It, I continue to feel like I'm making the decision every day to stay sober, even in my dreams. Like, even in my dream, I was handing it over, if you will. And, um, sorry, I feel like that was not cohesive, and that's fine. That's what we are used to here. So that's what you get for listening to a stroke podcast about sobriety. So I just got a lot from that dream. And so to get back to where I was, this complicated grieving process. It seems like the grieving process for sobriety has been in and out for the length of my sobriety. And next month, I just looked at the calendar. Next month, I'm going to be 9 years sober. I'm supposed to finish that sentence with God willing. Um, and I imagine that it's going to be an in and out grieving process with my vestibular and stroke recovery as well. Um, Last night, I also had a dream of, I guess it was the same dream, but in that dream, there were lights and sudden flickers of things that happened. Like I was constantly running across situations in the dream where like a TV would flash on really bright and then go dark. Or I would look out the window and there would be like a flash of lightning. And all of these things bothered my head. There was even a in my dream, and there was even a part of the dream where all of us were sitting in front of a big TV, and I was watching the TV, and my head was hurting, and I just kept closing one eye and closing my eyes, and you know, that is, I think, a complicated part of the grieving process. Like, that's what I believe. I believe that a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to accept comes out not only when I'm awake, but also when I'm dreaming. And it's part of this acceptance that my life, the way that I approach life, is going to it. I'm required to approach it differently. The same way as sobriety, where I felt like I didn't have a choice, where I was either going to live or I was going to die. I feel like a similar situation now with my stroke and vestibular recovery. I don't feel like I'm at a crossroads of whether I'm going to live or I'm going to die, but I am at a crossroads of am I going to be happy or not? And something I heard this morning in my morning meeting, my sobriety meeting, was why am I afraid? Why am I so afraid of being happy in the situation that I'm in? When I think about sobriety and starting to make those decisions about not going to happy hours or not hanging out with my drinking friends, I was sad about that. But I had to choose to be willing and open to change the way that I lived. I had to be open and willing to find connection with people like me. Um, and I didn't particularly want to do that. I didn't want to be happy that way. I wanted to be happy the way that I used to be happy, which was drinking. And I did a lot of waiting around for good to happen. But as I heard this morning, that is called passive living. And I can really connect with that idea of passive living in my stroke and vestibular recovery because there are days, sometimes weeks, that I'm waiting for good to happen because I don't feel like being happy this way. I want to be happy the way that I used to be happy. And I'm not going to be happy this way until I surrender the control that I think I have over my thought process and my control that I think I have over the situation. and just surrender and know that things are okay now, and it's okay to be happy this way. Um, it doesn't change the fact that I don't want to be this way. It doesn't change the fact that I have a disability. I'm not grateful for my disability. Not yet. Maybe one day I will be. You guys know that I have been, for a while there, I was like, I feel like I can get there. I feel like I can be grateful that for my stroke. And after talking to my psychiatrist, she kind of validated that it's okay. You don't have to be grateful for your stroke, but being able to let go is a part of that, like acceptance that I had my stroke. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it is. I'm I'm listening to some podcasts today about people who have a degenerative eye disease and losing their sight. It goes away slowly, and that is also a complicated grieving process. And being able to let go of that, you accepting that you don't have control over what's happening to your body is really scary. But when I'm able to let go and find connection with other people like me, that and I'm accepting help. So it almost doesn't even look like help. It's really, but it is, because I'm listening to how other people are navigating the same situation. And when I do that, I can find peace beyond any sort of willpower or control that I think I have and I really don't. Um, and building that true belief that things are okay. Just the tiniest belief that things are okay can grow into deep healing. And I'm trying to get there. I shared this morning in my meeting about how letting go, for me, not letting go equals anxiety. Anxiety feels like my entire body is is I'm trying to think of the words. Anxiety to me feels like my entire body is holding on to or gripping a rope that is slipping through my hands. Like when you're trying to hold on to something, or like back when, for you women, when we were in elementary school and middle school, and we had to do the flex arm hang, and you're now I could never do it, by the way, but when you're holding on and your arms just start shaking, eventually you have to let go. That's what my whole body feels like when I have anxiety. It's like my whole body will just start trembling, literally trembling, until I am able to let go. And I spent years holding that flex arm hang, holding on and just trembling, being so fearful of falling. And letting go now for me is allowing myself to fall back into somebody else's arms, whether I'm falling back into the arms of my sobriety fellowship or recently going to the vestibular conference, falling back into the arms of these people who are experiencing the same really scary symptoms that I feel on a daily basis. Before I go to bed at night, I get down on my knees and I thank God for my sobriety, for not smoking. I thank God for the willingness to recover. I thank God now for my body, which I don't know if I've shared that with you guys yet. I know a lot of you lifetime listeners know that I have this prayer before I go to bed that I get down on my knees. Well, I added thank God for my body. And just doing that has initiated my desire to do daily exercises to strengthen my back. So you all know that I've been dealing with some terrible back pain. Um, well, when I started thanking God for my body, it was I did it for the purpose of being like, I may have had a stroke, but I have gone through so many tests, testing all the parts of my body, and everything is very healthy. I just had a stroke. And I thought, I need to be grateful for that because a lot of times when people go through a gamut of tests, for one thing, they end up finding out they have cancer or finding out something else that's very wrong with them. And I didn't have that. So I started thanking God for my body. And when I did so, I was like, I need to take care of my body. And I started doing these exercises on a daily basis. So I replaced my push ups at night with these back exercises. And my back has immediately started to heal when I started doing these back exercises. So I'm pretty excited about that and wanted to share that with you. But the last part of my prayer at night is to uh my mind went blank. Sorry. Is thy will sorry, thy will not mine be done. Thy will be done, not mine. Um and and that is me on a daily basis falling back into the arms of my higher power. It is really letting go. And I need to do that. I need to do that in order to go to sleep at night. Um, I had heard a long time ago in my meetings, I guess it was at the beginning of COVID when I started attending virtual meetings, that before I go to bed, I put my problems on my nightstand and knowing that they're going to be there in the morning. I don't have to bring them on my pillow with me in my head. And that really has stuck with me over all of this time, over the past years, that I was always afraid to stop thinking about a problem for fear that I would lose time being able to solve the problem or I would forget about the problem. And when I heard that person say, I put it on my nightstand, it'll be there in the morning, I really was able to let it go for the night. And I realized if I forget the problem, then it's not a problem, apparently. And if I continue to try to hold on to it and solve it, um, I'm not going to be able to. I'm just stuck in a cycle. So being able to step away from something and come back to it in the world of art is really has a big impact on being able to progress on a project, whether it's painting or some of my crafts that I do. When I get into when I'm stuck, I'll walk away from whatever the project is and I'll come back and I'm able to make it better. So sometimes I just need to walk away from an issue or a problem and come back to it. So I think going back to this idea of why am I afraid of being happy? I think that's a real thing for me. Am I afraid that if I find joy in my where I'm at in my life now that I'm disabled, am I giving up on ever healing my disability? No, because there's acceptance in there that I am permanently disabled. So I think it's all intertwined for me. And I need to recognize that being happy today does not mean that I'm giving up anything. I'm not giving up progress. I, I'm not, I'm surrendering to the idea that I don't have control over some of these things that have happened to my body, over being an alcoholic, over having had a stroke, having a vestibular condition as a result. And so today I'm going to choose happy. And those of you who listen often know that that doesn't mean I'm going to put all my problems aside and just be happy. It means that it means I'm making the choice to take a step towards or down the happy path. I have a choice. I'm at a crossroads. I can either go in the direction of passive living and waiting for something good to happen to me, or I can take a step down the happy path. And that's for me the next right thing. So that's what I'm going to do today. And thanks for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.